Alrighty, welcome back everyone. It is LaughNgamez here. I'm back with another Starcraft 2 1 vs 1 bot AI cast. We have got ourselves what should be a good one here today, as it's two very darn good bots going to be taking each other on. It is Deimos going to be taking on NegativeZero. So the top Protoss against the second top Protoss, it should be a great match. And yeah, I'm excited for it because I think the PvP matchup as far as bots go is probably one of the less figured out ones. Like really anything can happen. And honestly, just both these bots have got, I'd say probably like the top 1 and top 2 unit control. So they're both, yeah, they both have phenomenal army control. And we're just going to see how this one is going to go, as we do have a probe scout going out for Deimos, both bots opening with multiple gateways. And then, yeah, just double gas across the board, so looking like a normal PvP here. Well, actually, pardon me, not double gas across the board. Deimos just going for 1 gas so far, interestingly enough. And yeah, ladies and gentlemen, if we can get a like on this video, that would be amazing. If we can get 1 million likes on this video, that would also be amazing. So click that like button if you haven't already. Leave a comment down below saying more bots if you want to see more of these bot matches, as that does help with the YouTube bot. Oh man, probe assassination as NegativeZero dispatches the scouting probe of Deimos. And yeah, subscribe if you haven't already subscribed to the channel, as we have daily bot videos put up here. And if you guys do have any constructive criticism for the casts, as always, you're always welcome to put that in the comments down below. The way it usually goes with these casts is that if someone will leave a comment, I'll be like, oh man, that was very nice. And I'm like, it's actually good feedback. So yes, I try and take all that into account. So we now have got 2 Adepts on the way for Deimos, whereas NegativeZero is just going for a Sentry Stalker opening. So if you watch this game, aside from the speed mining and the ridiculously high APM, you'd probably say, like, hey, this could be a normal human versus human PvP so far. Now, the Adept micro and positioning is going to be interesting from Deimos, whereas NegativeZero, we'll see whether it's going to wall or not. So far, no probe has been assigned to go down that wall, so there's a chance they do successfully shade past this. There we go. NegativeZero, the bot author has the timing down just perfectly. The probe wasn't hanging around there early at all. It just came up right as soon, just right as the Adepts could have possibly hit. So he's really got that mathed out. Very well done. And now it's 2 of those Stalkers are chasing those Adepts. They do give up the pursuit for a second as the Adepts are trying to shade in. Once again, NegativeZero will either have to let that battery finish or cancel it. Looks like it is a finish, so that is a bit of a painful investment, but not too bad for the Protoss. It's much better than the alternative of having Adepts in your base. And looks like one of those Adepts will go down as they continue to try and poke and prod. Deimos behind this has got... It got a Stargate out, but it has yet to build a Stargate unit. Then it just goes into a Robo. So we'll see if that Stargate's going to be important later or not, or whether that's a bit of missed opportunity. So I'm not sure why it built the Stargate at all. Now, we do have that Adept still poking and prodding, but NegativeZero kind of just hanging out inside its main base. I believe it probably is programmed to kill that battery eventually, as you don't program putting batteries in your wall really without having a check to break out of that, or it might just wait till it has a warp prism to potentially shuffle those units over there. The Adept constantly poking could be delaying NegativeZero from actually killing that battery. And let's see here, both these TOS just building up an army still. Neither one has expanded yet, as there is the saying in PvP, the first bot to expand is the first one to lose. So we've now got that shade just consistently going out. NegativeZero eventually says, hey, I can break out. Notably, it does break out right around the 30 supply mark, so I wonder if that's a condition the bot author uses before saying, hey, yeah, move out on 1 base, finally expand. It does kill the Adept, which does shade over. Good pullback on that probe. We do have hallucinated a hallucinated Phoenix for NegativeZero coming in, scouting out Deimos' base, so it is very doable to get the info you want as a Protoss bot author if you do program those hallucinated Phoenix to be used. We do have Deimos being down on Immortals, as it did invest in that Stargate prior to its opponent. So that actually means Deimos' army is going to be a little bit weaker than that of NegativeZero. NegativeZero is just gearing up for a push across the map as it shuffles this army across. It's going to be 2 Immortals against 1, however 12 Stalkers against 10. So there is potential for this fight to go either way, particularly with Deimos being on the defensive. Sometimes these games can be decided just by which bot attacks and which one gets the defender's advantage. So it's going to be really interesting to see. An Adept almost shades up, but does not. Looks like we did have one complete to shade into the main. Very good probe micro from Deimos, just getting a few zaps off on that, and then it does handle that. But we see the predicament for Deimos. It's now kind of trapped on one base, as pushing down into this army of NegativeZero is going to be very, very difficult. So far, though, it does seem NegativeZero changes its mind and actually pulls on out upon seeing how much supply Deimos has. So that's very respectful, as we may yet get an expansion from either of these bots if they're both just going home to, well, staying at home for now. Deimos, yeah, not producing anything. Saving up for another Immortal, perhaps? No, warps in a Stalker. And NegativeZero just goes home. Like, both these bots are just one-basing to the absolute max, as neither bot author feels like expanding is the right call to make. Deimos still staying inside its main base, however, it does move to the low ground, so it could potentially get a nice angle of attack against NegativeZero as the Protoss bot does come on in. The Immortals are ahead kind of by themselves. It's currently 4 Immortals versus 3. NegativeZero does pull back some of its units to group up that force. There is the high ground for Deimos, though. Gets some shots off on an Immortal. Good Prism save by NegativeZero. It can juggle its units to keep them alive, so now we are going to have one heck of a micro battle between these two bots, as NegativeZero has slightly more supply than its opponent. However, I think an Immortal may have just gone down. No, it saves that. Well, it saves that one with the Prism, I believe. Okay, pardon me. No, it actually did lose 2. It picked up some other units. And so NegativeZero loses 2 Immortals. Looks like it may lose a third, as its army just wasn't that tightly knit together. Saves that one with the Prism for now, although it's going to want to lift that up again, and it does continue to do that. This other Immortal just manages to slip on out of there, but that really does even up the army supply for the bot. So now it's 4 Immortals against 3 for Deimos. Both of these bots are expanding, a slight lead for Deimos, so what a great PvP this is between these two. They really are quite evenly matched, all things considered. We do have a Twilight Council now on the way for NegativeZero. Blink can be good, Charge can be good in this matchup. Deimos has the slightly quicker Nexus, so its income is probably going to take a tiny lead for a moment, but both bots are on similar worker counts. And then, yeah, Deimos just producing more Immortals. No Twilight Council for itself. Notably, it hasn't used the Stargate yet, so that is definitely a bit of wasted potential there. I do wonder if it's just part of the build for the bot authors, like, say if they scout an opponent's Stargate or something like that. It does make you wonder a little bit. Now, we do have both Nexus complete, both bots on even worker supply, both bots on even army supply. I think it really will. This game most likely will be decided just by one big fight. NegativeZero notably does research Charge instead of Blink. An extra gateway goes up for Deimos as it moves out to potentially be taking a third base, it appears, as this hallucinated Phoenix does fly on in towards that third base location. It doesn't confirm if or if not there is a base, though, I believe, so good zoning by Deimos. NegativeZero elects to throw up its own third base, so that is a good sign for Deimos that it can freely expand itself. NegativeZero does have a forge on the way, whereas Deimos is really just powering these Immortals, not investing in anything else, really. Just building more and more Immortals, and what a fight this will be when it eventually does happen. Now, if NegativeZero does complete Charge and warps in some Charge lots are fantastic against Immortals and Stalkers. depending on the numbers, but they're generally considered good. So that could be an advantage NegativeZero gets over the long run of this game. And Deimos is just so committed to the Immortals, to the Stalkers. NegativeZero finished up a Forge, but no +1 starts right as I say that. It does, though. So that is also potentially going to be another lead for the Red Protoss. So maybe designed to play the game a little bit longer, whereas Deimos is kind of just hanging out for now, spending money as soon as it gets it, not investing in that third Nexus yet, whereas NegativeZero is about to have its third done. So Deimos really needs to attack in like the next minute or so, or NegativeZero simply will have a nice advantage. It might not have as nice of an army, though, as the Immortal count continues to grow for Deimos, soon going to be 9 of those out. NegativeZero, though, is adding Blink. It does have Charge done, so now it's adding in Charge Lots to its army. And the game really will be decided by Immortals once these two forces clash. Looks like we've got Deimos doing some long-distance mining now, as it does eventually throw up a third base. So growing its economy, but much later than its opponent. So kind of just giving NegativeZero a nice advantage in this game for really nothing to show for it for Deimos. It's got a slightly higher Immortal count, but NegativeZero is going to have more unit production due to this much quicker third base and higher worker count now. There's also a fourth on the way for NegativeZero. If we watch the army movement, it does move to position itself between the third and the fourth base, so that's something you got to consider as a bot author, is where you're going to park your army. The logical thing to do is on your more outer expansions. Some bot authors try and split the difference between all the bases, that kind of thing. But for now, both armies just parked and looking scary. NegativeZero says it was supply blocked for a second, I guess. But that has been resolved. It's currently 6 Immortals to 11. So Deimos' army is just going to be a boatload of Stalkers and Immortals. Nothing else yet. Maybe it'll get some more money once this third is done, so it will be able to invest in some higher tech, something like that. The third does finish up, though, so that's all right. NegativeZero, though, really is getting away with this game. I'm wondering if we're just heading for a maxed out versus maxed out situation between these two, as neither bot has showed signs of wanting to attack. As I say that, though, it seems Deimos is listening and says, "You're right, it's time to attack." Now, 26 Stalkers against 21, 10 Immortals against 6. However, there's 11 Zealots and 2 Sentries to bolster the army of NegativeZero. Deimos does come on in. NegativeZero's got to reposition its army. Stalkers will have to kite back against the Charge Lots. Now, bots are pretty good at pulling away from threats, so Charge Lots might not be as good as you'd think, but it looks like Deimos is being pushed down this ramp, which is quite painful, as it does lose a decent number of Stalkers. Looks like it wants to try and go up that ramp once again. There's so many Immortals here, 11 to 6 right now. That is just going to put out a ton of damage. At the same time, NegativeZero does have that +1 attack helping it out. This fight is just so difficult to break down. Looks like Deimos is having a few of its Stalkers be cornered, though, as the rest of its army kind of sits idle for a moment, maybe doing some repositioning as the Blue Protoss moves towards the north, trying to pin down NegativeZero's army. I'll zoom out for this big fight, as we do have the army of NegativeZero getting on top of Deimos. Deimos losing quite a few units. There's also the battery overcharge for NegativeZero. Army supplies are in the lead for the Red Protoss now, and Deimos is down to 3 Immortals from like 11, which means that NegativeZero has absolutely crushed this fight. The defender's advantage, the army positioning, the upgrades just all came together for NegativeZero, and I don't think there's a way Deimos will be able to come back in this game. It spent about 12 minutes building those Immortals, and NegativeZero killed them all quite quickly. So really well done by the Red Protoss bot, just having slightly better design, it seems, when it comes to playing out the late game, in PvP anyway. As Deimos, I guess just its logic was that it really just kept building units instead of saving up money for a Nexus. Like, it was eventually getting Blink and Charge, but it just was building so many Immortals that it delayed that third Nexus, and that came back to bite it. But it's not an easy thing, programming when to expand, when not to expand safely as a bot author, if you want your bot not to have big holes in its play. Yeah, really well done by NegativeZero, though. A great PvP between these two. Ladies and gentlemen, if you enjoyed this one, and you haven't already, click that like button, leave a comment down below, and subscribe to the channel. If you do want to support these daily casts, there is a great way to do that, the YouTube membership program. You can press the join button below just to check out the perks, and big thanks to everyone that does support the channel that way. Now, let's see where this is going, as it's just NegativeZero cleaning up a boatload of bases now. Well, a boatload of buildings. The Stargate dying as it lived, uselessly. GG.